welcome to Turn the Page, the official podcast of the Syosset Public Library.
This is Jessikah with Syosset Library's Turn the Page podcast, and we're welcoming back one of our absolute favorite guests who probably didn't realize it at the time, but he started our BYOBs with the author early on in the pandemic when we started a virtual program, and you pulled out like a drink and you were just like, we're doing this. I've been stuck inside since March, and since then we called all of our virtual author visits in the evenings BYOBs. So Riley Sager, welcome back.
I don't know if that's a good thing that I started this trend or not, but yeah, BYOB. Today my B is coffee.
My B is coffee as well, because it is the morning, and it would be wrong to drink on the job on my part anyway, because this is it's the morning and it's a podcast interview. But so The House Across the Lake is your newest book, and I'm looking at my notes here, and it's definitely got notes of Rear Window in it. Was this like your love letter to Rear Window?
This was my love letter to Rear Window. I always knew, because Rear Window was one of my favorite movies of all time. Like, it's perfect. And I always knew that at some point I was probably going to write a Rear Window type thing. But the issue, obviously, is that many others have done Rear Window type things in recent years very well and very successfully. And so it was never my goal to do it this soon, basically. But, the pandemic being what it was, in October 2020, all my vacation plans had been shot to heck. And so we decided, hey, let's rent a lake house for a week in Vermont and spend a nice, relaxing week there, enjoying the lake and the foliage. And first night there, went out to the porch, which basically sits right on the water. I poured myself a glass of bourbon. I sat down and I stared at the house on the other side of the lake. And, my mind started wandering, who lives there? What do they do? What's their life like? What secrets are they hiding? Have they ever killed someone? The normal things. And that's kind of when it hit me. We're like, oh no, Rear Window on a Lake. That's going to be my next book, isn't it? And,
yeah.
but I knew in order to do it, I had to do something very, very different from these books that have come before it. Because otherwise, what's the point? So I needed something to bring to the table. And so once I thought of that, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, but you do have a nod to The Last Time I Lied in this book. One of the characters references that she went to Camp Nightingale, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yes, there is another Easter egg in that book as well to another book of mine.
Why am I missing it? I have to go back and read it again then.
It was very brief, but I wanted to throw them in there. One, because I think readers of my other books would be thrilled. But then also, I like the idea of them all taking place in the same universe.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And, there's a lake that plays an integral role in The Last Time I Lied. So I kind of appreciated that one very much. And the main character, Casey, one of the things that was running through my mind when I was reading this, because she was a former child star, or like a former celebrity, not really child, but she grew up in a show business family. Her mother was in show business. I kind of got like Drew Barrymore vibes from her almost. Somebody who was brought up in this family who's known for show business and has had like very public struggles with addiction. I love Drew Barrymore so much. She's like one of my favorites of all time. So I could not help but kind of wonder if there was any note of that in there. And now is the time when you're going to tell me absolutely not. And I made that up in my head.
Unfortunately, you did. I was I was thinking
Oh
Carrie
no.
Fisher.
Yes, yes,
So
that works too. Oh my, I don't know why I didn't see that. It was right in front of me. And of course, Carrie Fisher is also awesome.
and yes, may she rest in peace, our glorious Princess Leia. But no, and
General
it's
Leia. It's General Leia.
that's
Yeah.
true. Yes, it is. My bad. Jeez. But yeah, and this is not like, oh, she's Carrie Fisher, but it just, I wanted a little bit of that sardonic humor Carrie Fisher was known for, and I gave Casey some of that, and that was very fun to write because for Casey, she's had a rough go of things for much of her life, and she's built up this brittle shell kind of, and this, I just thought this very dry sense of humor that she uses as a defense mechanism was very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And she becomes like fascinated. She had this breakdown after her husband Len dies. And it's very public and very sad. And she is sort of in like almost like a self-exile to a family cabin. And this is where she meets Catherine, who was there like an inspiration for Catherine? Because she was a model, and you described these billboards, and I was thinking Kate Moss and Cindy Crawford a little bit, just all of these models that were really billboard famous in the 90s, because that's where my mind automatically goes to, like, the end of high school.
In this case, and again, she bears no resemblance to her whatsoever in the end product, but my first thing was that I thought of was Christy Turlington. And this is mostly because years ago at Newark Liberty International Airport, Christy Turlington and her husband Ed Burns were in line in front of us at the airline check-in counter, and she was stunning in real life. They were both just absolutely beautiful people, and it was just weird to see them like in person and be like, yes, you are as fine looking in person as you are on magazine.
But did she wear pajama pants to the airport? Because I need to know this. I've been told that that is not appropriate, and I do not accept that by any means.
She was exquisitely dressed.
Of course she
So
was. Of course
yes,
she was. Fair enough. Yeah, so Casey strikes up a friendship with Catherine, who she finds in sort of a bad position because she's almost drowned.
he's
And
almost drowned. Yeah.
yeah, almost drowned. And then sort of this weird, unreliable narrator thing from all ends just comes at you. Is Casey telling the truth? Is Catherine telling the truth? Is Catherine's husband, who's this social media mogul, telling the truth? Like, you already know that Casey has been compromised by many things, but you're not exactly sure whether she's reading things correctly. And it was a fun read. And I want to now go sit on a house on a lake and muse about the people who live in the other houses. After reading this book, I'm like, yes, this is what I want to do with my next vacation.
And we went back to that house a year later, and I finished the final edits to the book like on the porch of that house because I just thought it was so fitting. But yeah, the whole dynamic with Catherine and Casey, and I understand, like, it's very improbable for an actress and a supermodel to be staying on the same lake at the same time. But
is it though? I don't feel like it is. I feel like a lot of times people who are in those industries sort of tend to navigate themselves to the same areas for some reason. It, like, in my mind, I'm thinking of, there are definitely like places, especially on Long Island, like back in the 80s, it was like the Hamptons, and maybe it still is, where it's like, oh, you'll see celebrities there. This is where they take their summer. So I didn't actually think it was that improbable.
oh, good. But yeah, I did it for one reason. I wanted to make the lake feel very exclusive. There are not many houses on that lake because it's much easier for plot purposes. But also, I liked the idea of having these two women in a story about voyeurism have professions that involve being watched. And so, like, Casey is used to being watched on stage, and now she's doing the watching. And Catherine was on billboards and this famous supermodel, and then she vanishes. And so I really liked that kind of dichotomy of like their professions and what's happening in their real lives.
Well, it was definitely a fun read, and I always love your books. It's always like summer, Riley Sager. Yes, this is one of the best times of the year. And I know we always do this, and we don't have as much time as we usually do. What have you been reading and watching as my fellow film theory person who went through the film theory world? Have you been watching anything good lately and reading anything good in the genre?
I just watched Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is just incredible. It's such an amazing movie. And I've been, because the world has been so awful lately, I've really been gravitating to very, very light things. So I've, this summer so far, it's all been about like Hacks and Girls Five Eva on Peacock, which is such a funny show. Just a lot of happy reality shows, like not Real Housewives, but just shows where people are happy and they support each other, and like baking shows, things like that. So there
Yeah.
hasn't been a lot of scary, dark things in my viewing of late.
Yeah, see, I'm doing like the complete opposite. I'm gravitating towards super dark. So I watched the current season 4 episodes of Stranger Things and cannot wait for the next part. And then I watched Studio 666 with the Foo Fighters, which was fun.
Does it hit differently now that one of them is
Yes.
unfortunately
And
dead?
that was
Yeah.
I think like that was the thing that was really rough for me because I like a good like I like a good cheesy horror movie with some humor in it. And I appreciate the fact that it's basically like the Beatles help, but with horror. But it did hit very, very differently, especially the end. I think with Taylor Hawkins passing away, the note was just a little bit more somber, I think, than they were expecting to go for, because in general, the movie was great fun. And I always appreciate rock stars who can ham it up, and Dave Grohl definitely does that, but the whole band does. But yeah, no, that was pretty heartbreaking. But yeah, I've heard really good things about both all of those movies, and I'm hoping. Man, I hope that the pandemic didn't kill the genre for you completely. Are you writing something else sometime soon?
I am currently working on my next book, and yeah, my deadline is coming up very, very, very soon. And
And
so
it's the happiest Riley Sager book ever. It's just going
no,
to
it's
be like dancing and singing, right?
it gets dark. Like it really does. I don't, and maybe that's another reason why I just gravitate toward like lighter entertainment, because I'm like, I'm spending all day like writing these very dark things. Um yeah, I'm working on, I can't say anything about it. I just hope that I can reach my deadline. It's, this year is different because things have opened up a little bit more than the past 2 years. And so I did go to New York City and went to Thriller Fest, and coming up way too soon is a book tour. I'm going to 6 cities to promote The House Across the Lake, and it's very daunting.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully we'll be able to chat about it next year.
Yeah, definitely. That is when it is scheduled to come out already. We already have a pub date, and I'm like, can I finish it first, please? But that's how it works now.
So thank you so much for joining us. And maybe I'll have happier things to discuss that I've been watching next time we talk. I did watch the Rescue Rangers movie, which was surprisingly fun.
That was a lot of fun. Yes.
Wasn't it great?
All
Yeah.
the references and Easter eggs in that movie were mind-boggling.
Oh, absolutely. And it really did. I think it really was a good way to capture what Roger Rabbit was when I was a kid, for kids these days. And so, man, some of those cameos though of cartoon characters were really unexpected in the best way, but still.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
All right, so Riley Sager has endorsed the Rescue Rangers movie on Disney Plus, but first,
I have thumbs up.
yeah, thumbs up. But first, read The House Across the Lake, and we will see you next year with unnamed Riley Sager very dark book.
Yes, you will.
All right, this is Jessica with Syosset Libraries Turn the Page. Our guest today has been
Riley Sager.
And we are going to close this chapter.
It's time to close this chapter of Turn the Page. Join us for the next episode.